Oh, these midges, they get everywhere. Hey, did you enjoy that last tale, eh? That Maxim Wledig, what a man, eh? What a man. And his wife, oh, absolutely beautiful. Oh, yes. Hey, I think it's time you started paying for these tales of mine. A penny in Cubby's pool to help to make the fish bite, eh? Oh, thank you. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Oh. Yes, oh, the beautiful countryside. Except, of course, when those screeching dragons are flying overhead. I bet you've never heard a screeching dragon, have you? Oh, well, I tell you, when you do, you'll see the mountains move. But if you want to know what a dragon looks like when it's really, really angry, you just listen to my next tale, eh? Enjoy. The 3 Plagues of Britain. During the reign of Llydd, from his castle of Caer Lundain in London, the 3 plagues of Britain troubled the land. The first plague arrived when the Coraniaid people settled here. Such was the power of their hearing that no soft word could be spoken which the wind did not catch and carry to their ears. In this way, the Coraniaid knew in advance the plans of their enemies. The second plague occurred annually on the eve of May Day. A piercing scream was heard throughout the land, which sliced into the hearts of every man and woman. It made old people tremble and young children cry. The third plague, well, it was simply annoying. However many wonderful dishes were prepared for a feast at the king's court, all the food and drink would disappear after the first night. Llydd decided to ask his brother, Llefelys, who was king of France, for help. Silently the brothers sailed in ships towards each other, meeting up mid-channel between their 2 countries. To prevent the Coraniaid overhearing their conversation, they talked to one another through a long bronze horn. But strangely, the words which came out were angry and spiteful. So Llefelys poured good wine into the horn to wash out the evil spirit. Then he advised Llydd what he should do. On returning to Caer Lundain, the king crushed in water some insects which his brother had given him. Then he called together all the folk in the land, both the natives and the newcomers, and he sprinkled the insecticide over them. His own people were unaffected. After all, the Britons were used to rain. But the Coraniaid shivered, cursed, and faded away. So ended the first plague. To rid the island of the second plague, which was the scream, Llydd measured the length and breadth of Britain and dug a hole at its very centre, which turned out to be in Oxford. In the hole he placed a tub of mead, covered it with silk, and sat down to watch. Suddenly there appeared 2 dragons, scratching, snapping and biting as they flew up into the air. Llydd knew from Llefelys that it was the British dragon who screamed, fighting for control of his tiny kingdom. At last the dragons grew tired and collapsed onto the silk. As the cloth sank beneath them, they turned into pigs and drank up all the mead. Then, as you would have done, they fell asleep. The king pounced. He bundled the dragons up and carried them away to the mountains of Snowdonia.
Then he buried them beneath stones, in the heart of the rock face of Dinas Emrys, near Beddgelert. And that was the end of the second plague. In celebration, the king's cooks prepared a banquet, with enough dishes to last for several days. And this time, Llydd knew what to do. So after the singing and dancing, he settled down to watch. And whenever he became heavy with sleep, he plunged into a tub of cold water placed nearby. In this way, he was still awake while those around him slept, when a giant, clad in armor, came into the hall and began putting all the food and wine into a mighty hamper. Llydd jumped up and challenged him, and there occurred a fierce battle between the two. Iron rang and sparks flew, but eventually the right of the king prevailed, and he forced his opponent to the ground. Then the giant yielded and promised to be the king's man from now on. And, more importantly, he never stole from the festive table ever again.
Oh, this